ready to start our monthly webinar for LT Senior Services. Welcome. We're so happy to see everybody here today. We're just going to give everybody a couple minutes to get on. We're going to go ahead and start our live transcript. Let me see if I can do that. Got it. So you'll be able to see the transcripts at the bottom of the screen too. So if you're having trouble hearing or you're in a private area and you don't want the information to be blown through your office, you'll have the live transcripts at the bottom. So my name is Cindy Cummings. I am one of the founders of LT Senior Services, and our whole mission is to help older adults in the Lake Travis area. And one of the ways that we help is doing events like today. We do a webinar each month. We used to do them live. They were held at the library, and the library has been a great source of support for us. But with COVID, we are still doing our webinars. Someday soon, we hope to be live and hope to see you all. One of the seminars that we're going to be, actually today's seminar is a great one. It's Love and Marriage. It's not just for youngsters. Thank you, Natalie, for that title. It's such a cute title. It is the month of February, and we thought it would be a great time to talk about love. And I tried to wear a little bit of red. I got a little bit of red on. And you see a lot of red too, because it also is Heart Month for women. So you'll see a lot of people wearing red in all different areas. But we're so happy that you're here today. I'd like to introduce any members of LT Senior Services if they are there. Natalie, do we have anybody who'd like to come on and say hello? And I'm not hearing her talking, so
yes,
I am.
Karen is coming in from the
Okay.
library.
Awesome. So Karen is one of our partners in crime. She's helped us with lots of different events, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what's going on at the Lake Travis Library. Of course, things are very fluid at the library. Things have constantly been having to change based on COVID and what stage we're at. And there she is. Are you in the bookmobile?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's like you're a newscaster. Karen reporting from the bookmobile.
No, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. The back door is open, so it's kind of bright. So yeah, sorry, that's the ceiling of the bookmobile. So
and you're all with all your clothes on too, because it's so dang cold out there. But so the bookmobile, where are you going today?
Today we're at 3 stops in Hudson Bend. So we have every other week we go to a different set of stops. We go to different assisted living facilities, and then neighborhoods, RV parks, preschools we're going, so that's been really fun, and food pantries too. So, but the library, as you said, thank you so much, Cindy and Natalie. We really appreciate your partnership. We have started printing the calendar again. So we are doing a combination of online, which is like this, hybrid, which is in person and having Zoom at the same time. And then in person, so there are some meetings happening, and then outdoor. So we've got the calendar, it's online and it's in paper, and we have a combination of events happening. So you can still come in and browse. We'd love to see you, but yeah, we're just slowly starting to get things going again, but it's definitely
I know we're also anxious to get back in person. Tell us maybe one of the most interesting events that you have happening in February that would be appropriate for older adults.
Yeah, we have the speakers forum happening actually. So it's going to be this Thursday at 7. It's going to be hybrid, and we have somebody talking about Russia and Ukraine, like an expert. So
wow,
that will definitely, yeah, interesting.
That's perfect
and
timing.
Very relevant, exactly. So there's still a lot of online great meetings happening, very informative, and it's great that you can do that and not leave your home. So.
Well, we should come to those because we hope to do some of our events hybrid too. I know a lot of us are anxious to get in person, but then other people, they just still don't feel comfortable. So it's so great that you guys are being so creative and really just staying in touch with the community and offering all these services. We love the library.
Thank you. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
Natalie, is there anybody else who wants to come on and say hey?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay. So without further ado, And we will talk about some activities of Lake Travis Senior Services. We've got our monthly seminar, and I'll tell you about some of those themes coming up at the very end of our webinar. We also have a shred day coming up, and I'll give you those dates and those times. But without further ado, I'd like to have our speaker come on, Amy Temperley. So Amy, there she is. Hey, Amy. So I'm going to do a brief introduction of Amy, and we are just fascinated by this topic. This is actually a topic we've never done before. What we did was we went out and we asked our people who attend our webinars, and we said, what kind of topic are you interested in that we're not doing? And people said, this is a topic. And we had many people suggest it, and it wasn't even like a topic like you could choose, like ABC. People were writing it in. So we thought there's something to this. So we're really excited to have Amy. For over 30 years, Amy has committed her work to improving the lives of older adults in some form or fashion. From her time as a social worker in nursing homes and home health care to executive roles in older adult-focused nonprofit agencies. And as a consultant and business owner, Amy has served caregivers, individuals with dementia and disabilities, and nonprofit leaders. She is passionate about issues related to living a full life and active aging and ageism. Amy has a master's degree in human services from St. Edward's University and has been called upon time and time again because she's a problem solver. If you've got a problem, call Amy to develop relationships and create change in communities and organizations. She's an innovative thinker with a commitment to authentic leadership, problem solving, and working with systems to implement change. Amy and her husband, Damien, founded Aging is Cool in 2016 with the dream to create smart, aging, fun activities for older adults and to address ageism in the world around them. In 2020, Aging is Cool partnered with Heart and Soul Care to create and launch a Mighty Good Time website. It's a one-stop shop for engaging active adults or engaging activities for older adults nationwide. So Amy, before we get into your presentation, would you tell everybody about a Mighty Good Time and what's on there? And
yeah, I'd love to. We're very excited about it. We launched a Mighty Good Time a little over a year ago. It is designed to be a one-stop shop where you can find adult activities. That sounds terrible. Where you can find activities for older adults, things to do. So in-person, virtual, and phone-based activities. It is free to search. It is also free for people to post events. So right now we have over 100 organizers on our site, and we have, gosh, as many as 30 to 40 activities a day that you can find. Most are kind of like you said, most is virtual right now. It's very difficult to find in person. We're still scouring the country to find as many interesting in-person things as we can. But if you're comfortable with virtual, there's lots and lots of opportunities out there, from fitness to travel to science to history to pop culture. We love the library. The library posts with us, which we love seeing their cool events. We've got some really fun stuff right now too. Just kind of as a side note, virtual travel has become a big thing. And if you're not familiar with virtual travel, you literally get on a virtual call with a live tour guide who is giving you a tour of some of the most amazing places around the world. And very often you can chat with your tour guide in the chat bar. We've got a new provider I'm talking to this week that is just, I've gone to London, and I've gone to Australia, and I've gone to Stockholm, and I've gone to Africa, and it's phenomenal. So, you know, if you want to travel and you don't want to get on a plane right now, like I don't, it's really fun, really cool.
that is super cool. Well, we just think you are so creative. And one of the reasons why we reached out to you today is you are an expert in many different areas. And I know that love and sexuality and all of those kinds of topics is something that you've been interested in a while. And I understand you've got some PowerPoint slides to begin the presentations, and I've got a slew of questions for you, but we also want to encourage people to go ahead and put their questions in the chat bar. We're going to be monitoring those, and we'll be asking Amy any question that you have. We will not say your name if you don't want to have your name. We might have to be careful about some of the questions too, but I don't know. So
we'll see.
Without further ado, I'm just going to let you go ahead and take over.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I'm in full disclosure, as I am going to present and talk about love and intimacy, and predominantly around dating and creating new relationships. I am married. I haven't been on the dating scene in a very long time, which I'm grateful for. But for whatever reason, a lot of us find ourselves, no longer partnered. Maybe it's a death of a spouse, or a relationship that ended. Maybe you just haven't found, somebody to share your life with in that particular way. But I wanted to share some information today around sort of the best practices and how you go about that. So let me get this slideshow up so you can see it properly. All right. So first of all, why would you even bother, right? Cindy and I were joking, and she was sharing some information that someone she was having a conversation with, who was an older adult, when this topic was brought up, said, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to take care of another person or be engaged in another relationship? And I have to say, my mother was widowed about 9 years ago, and she has told me quite clearly that she's not taking care of another old man. But that's her own perspective. And for lots of people, we want to be in relationship with someone else. So first of all, why intimacy? Why is this even an issue? And why do we crave this so much? And of course, humans are social creatures. We live together in this world, and we care for each other, and we support each other, and we help fill needs for each other. We actually thrive on close personal relationships. It can improve our mental health, our well-being, just our day-to-day experiences. It could give us a partner, someone to support us in the daily trials of life. What's important here, though, as we're talking about this topic, is to remember that intimacy doesn't just have to do with being in a dating relationship or a marriage, excuse me, or a love type relationship with somebody else. It can also include your friendship and your family relationships. And those are very, very important to our health and well-being, which has been proven more and more as we talk about social isolation and our need really to connect with other people. So the first thing that's really important here is to start with you. And we've all heard this before. If you don't love yourself, it's hard to give love to other people. As we get older and wiser, because I really do believe we are more wise as we are older, and we are able to look at ourselves over time, and we can examine the relationships we've had in the past, it's really important that we do care about ourselves first, and that we're not looking for relationships to fill a void in our emotional self. Now, of course, we all have voids in our emotional self, but be sure that you understand yourself first. Deal with your own baggage. What are you bringing with you? What is coming out of your last relationship, particularly if it was a divorce or a relationship that ended badly? Have you gone through that? Have you talked to a therapist or with your friends, or have you journaled and really thought about, what that meant to you and how you feel about that? And the next part is really to figure out what you want. As I mentioned, not all intimate relationships need to be dating or sexual relationships. Are you looking for love? Are you looking for sex or companionship? Are you looking for friends with benefits? That's a lot of people today. That's kind of what it is. You have a really good friend, and occasionally you sleep together as well. Are you looking for a roommate or a travel partner? Or do you just want someone to go to the movies with occasionally, or out to dinner, or to, and try new restaurants? Try to figure out what it is you're actually looking for, because that's going to help you identify how you go about it. What kind of partner would make you happy? There's the basics. Is it a certain age range? Is it a certain height or weight or look or whatever? I mean, I think those are all pieces of chemistry as we think about a partner. But are you looking for someone who's funny? Are you looking for someone who's kind of a homebody and just would sit on the couch with you? What is it that would make you happy? And then the last thing I put on here is to be dateable. Be somebody that other people want to go out with and hang out with. Again, get a grip on who you are, your own baggage, and think about what you're bringing to the table in a relationship. What is the thing about you that you can give, that you can offer a partner in an intimate relationship? So now we know what kind of person we're looking for and who we are ourselves. How do we find these people? The number one thing that you can do that is really going to be helpful is to expand on your friendships with both sexes. Who do you know? How can you get engaged with other people? As you begin to expand your outreach without really thinking about the intimacy piece or the dating piece or the love piece, you will naturally start to meet people that share common interests, or maybe you meet other women who know other men, or vice versa. I don't know how many men we have in our group today. You have to be proactive. You are not going to find the love of your life or the next love of your life sitting in front of the television set. That's not how it works. It is really important that you are out making connections with other people and making lots of connections, because it can be harder as we get older to find that special someone. Think about your current networks. Who do you already know? Do you have Facebook friends that you would be comfortable reaching out and saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody, or I'd be interested in dating. Do you know any single people that I might, gel with? And get their advice on who, might be a good match for you. And then think about taking classes. Meetup.com is a great program. If you've never been to meetups are all around the country. It is a website where you can get together for activities, live activities, like going on hikes or trying out new restaurants. And they bring together lots of people that are interested in the same thing. So if you're interested in art or film, you can find meetup groups that actually cater to that. The nice thing about Meetup in the Austin area in particular is they have a very, very large senior focused meetup group that you can join, and they are active like crazy. They probably have 3,500 members or more. It's a huge, huge group. So that's a really great way to meet people in a non-threatening type way, where you're just starting to meet people and it's not necessarily dating. Senior centers are fantastic. I know there's plenty of senior centers in the area and places to gather. If you've never been to a senior center before, they don't look like they used to. It's not your grandma's senior center anymore. There are many, many wonderful, interesting activities to participate in. And then, of course, the library. We already had the Lake Travis Library with us today. Libraries have great programs. Again, safe, nice ways that you can learn something, get engaged, but also possibly meet other people. So for those of you who are ready in a different way and you really want to get out there and date and you're not quite sure about these other mechanisms for meeting people, dating apps are an option. And if you've never used a dating app before, basically they are a search tool and they use algorithms, so basically computer generated data, to make match recommendations. So within a dating app, when you sign up, it's going to ask you things like your location, your age, do you have certain preferences and types of like what kinds of people you'd like to meet, how old you'd like them to be, how tall you'd like them to be. And then it's also going to ask you things like, do you enjoy crafts or film or hiking or the outdoors or fitness? And using that data, they're going to match you with people who also are looking for something similar. So people who are looking for people like you. Some of them, like Match.com and some of the others, have actually very long surveys that you take that ask you a lot of questions about who you are emotionally, the type of relationship you're looking for. These apps are more likely going to try and match you based on your preferences. There are other apps where you actually swipe left or right. You've probably, if you've never been on a dating app, and you've probably heard this from your, kids or grandkids that are out there in the dating scene, these apps are going to match you with people. The people's faces and information are going to show up on your screen. And if you like them, you swipe to the right. And if you don't like them, you swipe to the left. And while you're doing that, they're doing that on their side as well. And when you both have swiped to the right on each other, then they will link you up and you can connect. Tons of dating apps. I mean, there's just so many different kinds. However, there are some that do cater more to an older population. Stitch.net, Our Time, Silver Singles. These are some popular ones that actually do focus on an older group. So that's a good thing. It kind of narrows the field a little bit. But you might be looking to date somebody younger, and that's perfectly okay as well. So if so, then you're going to want to look at Bumble, Coffee Meets Bagel, eHarmony. Before my husband Damien and I met, I went on a few eHarmony dates. I know my sisters used Match.com quite a bit. Everybody's heard of Tinder. And some of these apps have really different feels to them. So I would definitely Google, if you're thinking about dating on one of these apps, you might kind of say, what kind of people are on Tinder, what kind of people. There are a few apps where folks are more likely to be looking for purely physical relationships versus something a little bit deeper. So it just depends on what you're looking for. So just be really careful about that as you start to look. There are also some that are specific to religious denominations. So JDate, which is for people who are Jewish and might be looking for other Jewish people, and then Catholic Match. So there are those types of options as well. So once you've matched with somebody and you go out on your first date, there's a few important things to know. And if you haven't dated in a long time, it's just as uncomfortable as you remember. It just depends on what kind of attitude you go out with. So first of all, go back to yourself and just remember, it's about meeting new people. It's about building relationships, and not everybody's going to be a love match. But once you're out there, please do be very, very careful. If you are on apps, if someone ever makes you uncomfortable, please do block or report them. You don't have to continue to engage or get messages from somebody that makes you uncomfortable. It's very interesting to me that we think that when somebody hits over 50, 60, 70, that they just all of a sudden become nice people. And this is not necessarily true. So there are bad people out there at all ages. So the things that we ask our younger folks to be watching out for when we're dating are the same things you should be watching out for. Be sure not to include all of your identifying information early on, particularly if you're starting to talk with somebody over the app, if you're texting or phone calling. Just be very careful. As with anything, don't give out, your address and your bank account numbers and your social security. I think you probably know that, but be careful. This one might sound a little odd, but do a little digging before you go out with somebody. We're just going to call this internet stalking, and it's okay. Everybody does it. We just have to forgive ourselves for it. If you're going to go out on a date with somebody, it is perfectly okay to type their name in Google and see if you can find anything else out about them. It is helpful if you can find out, where they used to work, or, what organizations they might be involved with. It also would be helpful if anything negative popped up and you'd know not to go on that date. So don't ever feel bad about doing a little digging. It's a very normal thing these days. And before you meet somebody, always connect by phone and text with them first. Get to know somebody in that kind of setting. Don't just jump into the date. Make sure there's a connection. There's no point in going out on a date and putting yourself in any risk or even wasting your time if it's somebody that you definitely don't connect with. So, have a couple of phone calls and make sure that it's somebody you're really interested in. When it's time to go on that first date, you are always going to want to meet in a public location. Do not have them come and pick you up in their car. It's just not safe until you get to know somebody. Meet somewhere in public, meet, somewhere maybe even that you're familiar with already. Always let someone know where you're going. It's really important that there's a backup person that knows where you went that night and the name of the person that you're going with. Watch your drink. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom, don't leave your drink sitting there. Just be careful. Again, just because somebody's in a certain age range or seems like a nice person doesn't necessarily make them a nice person. Stay sober on your date. This is just going to make sure that you get home safely. Don't make any decisions that you wouldn't normally. Be sure not to give out any, super deep private information. And then if you feel uncomfortable for any reason, please do trust your instincts and ask for help. And the way people do this now in dates is usually to step aside and ask a bartender or waiter or waitress if they could help you, or if they could call you a cab or walk you out to your car. Because this type of dating is so common now, most, many waiters, waitresses, bartenders are trained in this and are very well aware and prepared to help in any reason, for any reason. Now, here's a different kind of thing, and to be honest, I haven't really thought about matchmaking and dating coach services, and so I did a little bit of research on this. First of all, they're very, very expensive. I saw something that was $6,500 for 3 months worth of matchmaking. But if you are looking for much more personalized services that might, actually vet out people for you in a different way, matchmaking may be something to look at for you. What I would say here is do a little bit of pre-work. There are actually matchmaking services that do cater to the 50+ population. I had no clue that that was a thing, but this is something to really consider. And, if you financially can afford it, it might be nice to have that kind of personalized attention. It might be more helpful to you. All right. Down to the last bits here. So let's talk about sex. It's a part of intimacy, and we're not going to go into a lot of detail today. I think sexuality is a topic that we're interested in at all ages, particularly as your age, your body changes. Both women and men have very, very different experiences as we get older. But the reality is that people continue to have sex throughout their entire lifespans, that it can actually be healthy and good for you, emotionally and physically. And if you're going to date, then you're going to want to think about what your relationship with sex is, what your comfort levels are, if you want it or not, because many people are quite happy to be in loving relationships without physical intimacy. But just a few things to consider. So if you are dating and it's time to start thinking about sex, or you want to consider sex, please remember that you're in charge here, that you get to wait till you're ready, that we hear so much these days about consent, and I don't know what it was like when you were growing up and dating, and when you were teens in your 20s. When I was, it was a very different ballgame, and young girls in particular were pressured into sex very often when they weren't interested, and this happens as us older people as well. So just please remember that you are fully in charge. Wait until you're ready, and you have every right to say no, every single right. If you're getting down to, wanting to have sex, be sure that you communicate. It can be uncomfortable, but you're going to want to communicate with your partner again. What do you want? What do you don't want? What you like, so that it's something that's positive and enjoyable for everybody involved. There are also very high rates of sexually transmitted infections in older adults. There are some areas, there is a retirement community in Florida that has the highest rate of STIs in the country, percentage-wise. And part of this is because a lot of us weren't educated well when we were younger on safe sex. So if you are not familiar with everything that's out there to help you be safe, please do get on the internet, do your research, ask somebody, but please practice safe sex. There's AIDS, or HIV, there's so many things out there that can be, passed around. We want you to have great sex, but we want you to have very, very healthy sex as well. And then let's talk about rejection. You are not going to be able to go through a dating process and, meeting new people without occasionally somebody saying, I'm not feeling it. This isn't the relationship or the match for me. So just be ready for that. Remember that rejection is a part of life, that not everybody is a match, and just try to enjoy the ride. Enjoy the dinner you went on or the movie you went to, and have, find the pieces of this dating to be grateful for. We talk a lot about gratitude and how helpful it is. Know that when somebody rejects you, that it just means it's not a fit. And they made that decision early, and now you don't have to go down that path with somebody that, isn't going to be a good fit. Take a minute to figure out what there is to learn. What was it about that person that maybe you didn't like? What happened that maybe, caused that to happen? Don't put blame on yourself, but take a step back and see if there's anything to learn. And talk through it with people who love you. We're all rejected from time to time, and it's important that we, share our heartaches and share with other people. And then finally, when I, as I was thinking about what this is all about, when we go out and we think about getting into relationships with people, it's not just about what we want out of it, but it's about what we can give and what we can give to other people, and what a gift that is, and how wonderful it feels to share and to be in relationship with someone else, so that we can have a partner and reciprocate and give as much as we get. So I love this from Katharine Hepburn. Love has nothing to do with what you're expecting to get, only with what you're expecting to give, which is everything. And I thought that was nice. All right, so I'm going to stop my share here and let Cindy come back.
Yes, so we do have a question. So the question is, hi, Amy, I use a wheelchair due to a disability, but I'm a fun-loving gal, and I'm trying to find attendants that can help me to do these activities. Should I look for attendants in my age, or should I not have an attendant as a match? Would love to have a friend, but not necessarily love. Is the wheelchair a turnoff? What are your ideas?
Wow. That's just a really interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
I think ultimately, so I'm processing lots of things, Nancy. So first of all, think about really what you want, right? It's important that you know exactly what you're hoping to get out of whatever this relationship might be. I don't think that a wheelchair is naturally a turnoff. I think that it takes a certain person to be able to embrace that in some of us, and some people that is going to be, a difficult challenge. But there are plenty of people with disabilities, and this as well as the next person, that are in lovely, wonderful, loving relationships. And I think you have to decide if you want that that person who is your love and your partner to also be your caregiver, right? That can also be a difficult or challenging place for them to be. And so really thinking about that. And I think about, well, just what we were talking about earlier, Cindy, with, having, people who say, I don't want to care for somebody anymore. I bet my mom might be happy to be in relationship with somebody who is older and has a disability, but she might not necessarily want to give care to that person. And so you have to find that right person that can fit both criteria. But I don't think it's a natural, can't happen, never going to happen. There are those unique, loving, wonderful people who are quite happy to play both roles for the person that they love.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I answered that okay, Nancy.
I think you did a great job. So these are some questions we'd like to ask you. How can I get myself ready for dating in later years?
Well, we talked a little bit about that. So part of it is about getting, really starting with you, figuring out what it is that you want out of a relationship, and what you bring to a relationship. Maybe spending some time jotting that down, right? Doing a little journaling, doing a little self-work and a little bit of self-love to try and get there. And explore, take a little time to explore and to get out on the internet and see what's out there in terms of ways to connect with people and the ways to engage with people. Get on there and browse some of the dating apps. You can get in there and log in and not have to start matching with people right away, right? You can go in and just see how the setup works, or ask one of your grandkids or your kids to share, their own dating app and see how it works from behind the scenes. Explore a little bit. Dating is different today than it's ever been, and technology has added a whole new experience into that. Um, and tools, you could Zoom with somebody before you go out on a date, right? You could actually
Mhm.
see them and interact with them and really figure out if it works. So explore all your options, and all these new ways that there are there. So um, yeah, and maybe like ask, ask, ask a teenager or a young adult in your life, what's dating like for you? What does it look like today? Um, and then remember that you can also create it the way that you want to. If you want to date in a very old fashioned way, go for it. You get to decide. You get to decide how you want to do it.
Well, how is dating different, you think, as an older adult versus a younger adult? Or maybe it's the same. I don't know.
I think some of the challenges are the same. Some of the like we talked about rejection. Some of the challenges and being nervous before you go on a date and all of those types of things. I think that dating is a little bit different as an older person in that we know ourselves better. If you think about who you were when you were 20 or 30 years old, if you were dating in those time periods, I don't know that I know I didn't know myself very well. I have a much better understanding of who I am, what makes me tick, what I like in a friend, what I like in an intimate partner, what I refuse to put up with. Right? This is my second marriage. I know exactly from my first marriage what I won't tolerate in this one. So I think we know so much more, and that lets us come to dating with a whole different focus, which is probably, I hope, more about that give and take instead of just what can I get out of it.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
that's I don't know. That's kind of how I see.
Well, you talked a little bit about where I can meet people, and can I just share something with
Yeah,
you? So I
please.
have some younger adults that I'm around, and so they want to find somebody. And I'm saying, well, it's not going to be in a bar, if you're looking for a long-term relationship. So then I kind of went through their activities with them. And I said, okay, well, you like to do these three things. So why don't you go, like you said, online to meet up, for hiking, for boating, for pets, and find interest groups and go there? Because to me, if you have an interest with that person, that's huge. And when you're with somebody that your interests don't match, you have nothing to do. So why not find somebody in the interest that is your passion, that gives you the most joy, and hopefully you'll meet somebody there. So,
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. The other thing I didn't mention on this was volunteering.
oh,
That's a
yes,
fantastic way to meet people.
yes.
Whether it's a group, building a house for Habitat for Humanity, or doing some other group projects, or volunteering on site where there's going to be lots of other people, again, that share an interest. And particularly if you've identified that you're looking for someone who has a kind of give back spirit and all of that, then that's where you're going to meet people. So you're right. Think about what you love to do and what's important to you, and put those two things together. And hopefully,
You can just get one interest together that you're passionate about. Oh, I can't hear you. Let's see. Natalie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, she's saying, wait, we should have like signs. We'll hold up a sign.
it's unstable internet. Yes, big. I need to
Ugh, I hate
unstable
that.
internet. Sorry about that.
But I remember from the ice storm that you did really well in where you live because you have a well and other things like that. So living in that kind of environment has its positives and its negatives. I also heard your dog barking. I was like, that would not be acceptable in years gone by. Oh my gosh, if you were on a call, and now it's like, hey, this is
Right,
life.
my dog is barking.
This is life. I'm living life in my home now. What are you gonna do? Right.
Yeah.
We're just doing the best we can. What about intimacy?
I it really is hard. I mean, we have to decide what's important to us, right? And are you familiar with the 5 love languages?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and there's some of that's been disproven, and it's been identified that there are more love languages than that, and I'm sure there are. But basically, it says that we all like to be loved in certain ways, and that some of us prefer acts of service, and some prefer words of affirmation, and one of those is touch, is human touch. And when we're talking about that kind of intimacy and connection with people, it's really important that you decide what it is that you're looking for. Is that just, I need someone in my life that can give me hugs? We're supposed to receive, I don't know, some amazing number of hugs a day actually for our health. And most of us don't get that amount of hugs. But, I've heard many, many older adults say one of the main things that they miss about intimacy, whether that's with a friend or a lover, is just that piece of just being touched by another human being in some way. So if that's what you need, maybe you're not looking for a lover, maybe you're looking for a friend. Maybe you're looking for somebody that, can connect with you deeply that way. You know, maybe you're looking for a roommate, that in a platonic relationship that can, just be intimate emotionally and spend time with you on a regular basis. So it's really figuring out what depth of relationship are we talking about here. I know many couples, and you're seeing this more and more now, who are older, who have their own homes, who get married, they maintain their own homes, and they meet up to sleep together once a week and have dinner and do things, but they maintain their own space. You can do that. You can do whatever you want. And so figuring out for you, what is that level of intimacy? Do I just need some really close friends that I can cry to and that I can call when I need that? Or am I looking for something that's a little different than that? And is it a, couple relationship, whether that's gay or straight or whatever that may be? And that's another thing I didn't touch on here. The world's a very different place today. Maybe you're exploring a totally different type of relationship than you ever have before. Also okay. Also okay. This is an amazing time to do that because, again, you know yourself better than you probably ever have. And you have opportunities now to create a world and relationships the way you want them to be.
And you talked a little bit about dating safety. And I just heard of a friend who was in a bar with a husband and another couple and got drugged. So it's not just for, dating purposes and taking advantage, but just in general, I think we just have to be so much safer out in the world, and watching our drink, is probably one of the first things that you have to watch for. So it's terrible, but that was around when I was in college too. So not sure how much people will be in bars, but I guess when you are in a situation like that, you do need to watch your surroundings and, drive yourself, I would think would be one of the first things that you would do, not hop in a car with somebody else and just some of the basics.
There's some really interesting new stuff out there too, because you're right. We've been supposed to watch our drinks since as long as we can remember, but I'm pretty sure they make these little test strips. Like if you leave your drink and you go to the bathroom and come back, you can put the test strip in it and it will let you know if anything's been put in there. They also make these little, they're just little covers that go over your drink so that you can tell if it's been removed. If you leave your drink. And as somebody who, I'm almost certain that somebody put something in my drink one night when I was in my 30s, and it was terrifying. And thank goodness I was with girlfriends, that were watching after me, but I don't remember anything at all about the thing. And, that's scary. And so again, we have to be very careful around, not everybody's a nice guy or gal, it's just what it is. What it is. So
I guess I could have blamed that on my tequila night in Mexico. Somebody put something in my drink. That's what happened.
Yeah, I thought it was my fault at first, and then I heard more stories, and it was like, oh yeah, that wasn't my fault. That was somebody did that.
If you've ever been to the Giggling Marland in Cabo San Lucas, we had a real good night. But boy, woo, Nelly.
Sounds like a great place. People.
It's really fun in my 30s, not so good in my 60s. So Amy, when you were going through your presentation earlier, I noticed that you had this new logo that I hadn't seen before. So tell me about that logo and tell me what that's all about, because I don't know very much about it.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I run several businesses and I love the work that I do, but one of the things I've always done and love to do informally is coach people and support them. as a listener, as a question asker, as, someone to help. I'm the person people reach to when they need to make a decision or they need to go wherever. So many years ago, I was trained as a life coach, and life took over, and I sat on it for a very long time, and I didn't really do anything with it. But I've been looking at my own life lately and trying to figure out what makes me happy as a 52-year-old woman. What is important to me and what is it I want? And I love the feeling of helping other people. And so I launched a coaching business called Strong Women. It is for any woman, whether they are looking to make a change or explore something in their personal life or in their business life, as a leader or an entrepreneur, whatever. But it's both life and business coaching, but it's geared directly to women. So I'm taking clients and looking for people that, if you've never had a coach is just really, I like to say, they're kind of like a hired friend. It's your person that is there to help you find the best in yourself, to help you explore, to ask the right questions, to help you be accountable and create the life that you want, and then be your biggest cheerleader when you get there. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. So
That's super exciting. So if somebody wanted to consider coaching with you, do you do a pre-interview, like a coaching session to kind of see if you're a good match, or how would people proceed if they
yeah,
want to?
I do a free 30-minute consultation. So we meet, we talk about what you want to accomplish, and see if I'm a fit. It's really, really important that your coach is a fit. Sometimes they're not. I've had a coach personally that wasn't a fit for me. So you want to explore that first and make sure that, you get along with that person and the chemistry's there. And then we talk about, how you want to proceed. If you want to set up, monthly visits or every couple of weeks, or meet in person or virtual or phone, it's kind of built the way that you want it. But you can go to, it's strongwomenthrive.com, and there's information there on how to get in touch with me if you want to set up a consultation.
That's great. Well, obviously, if somebody had some questions about this topic, you would be able to help them because you are knowledgeable in it. But I know you're knowledgeable in lots of other things. I know you've done helped for a lot of nonprofits in the area too, and helping them to do their strategic planning and things like that. So I know you have that experience. You have a lot of background that you could really help a lot of people. So
it's my pleasure. That's the best part, right? It's the giving first that makes you joyful.
Well, I don't see any other questions. Well, I did have this. It talked about, do you recommend stating you have a disability from at the beginning of your profile?
I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, I think it'd be important to start, if you think it would, let me say this. If you think it might impact them in some way when you meet, I think it would be important to be honest and upfront about who you are and your needs as you go forward, just so that, again, you don't want to have to be cleaning up a mess of, you didn't tell me
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So, and again, but just be careful. You don't have to tell them everything, but if you're in a wheelchair, you might want to mention that. If you're,
Mhm.
if you feel like it's important that you're on a walker, maybe you want to mention that. Again, that's something I think we each have to explore individually and what our comfort levels are around that.
Mhm.
And to be honest, some of these older dating sites and apps in particular might actually have a question about that. I really have not delved down into those personally.
Well, it was probably hard for you to do some research because you probably had to make a profile, and so it would be a little awkward. Damien, for research purposes. Now, I did make a profile for my mom. Am I terrible? It was years ago. She's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And it was probably 10 years ago. And it was match.com. And so I would tell her about the matches who came through. Nope, nope, nope,
She
nope,
wouldn't do
nope.
it.
She
Oh,
wouldn't do
that's
it. No,
funny. Oh,
no.
that's so funny.
But we enjoyed it. It was kind of a fun little, project to do. We put all her info in there, and then we could see all the gentlemen all around. I was like, why not? He's too old. I don't want to be with old people. I'm like, okay, but you kind of qualify. But now here I am getting to that age. Watch, my kids will try to do something like that for me. Who knows? And then another question, is there a dating site that is specific for people with disabilities?
Gosh, I don't know that. I didn't even look that up. Wouldn't surprise me. There are so many very specialized ones. So that might be well worth checking out. Now, the only thing I would say about that is be very careful then about how they screen the people that are on the site. So
Mhm.
this is going to sound terrible, but it could open the door for, people to be looking for people who have disabilities that they want to take advantage of. So, if there is something like that, just be sure that they've got safeguards in place to protect you in those situations.
Another question comes up about transportation. I would just say Uber. I mean, now that we've got Uber, just go ahead and Uber. It's so safe. And then you've got it on your app. And when you get there, if you feel uncomfortable, you just hit Uber and say, I'm going to the bathroom, and head out and pop in your Uber. I mean, it's probably better to do that than drive your car, I would think.
I think you're probably right on that. And then there's always, if you did drink one too many glasses of wine, you're set there as well. So
Yeah,
not necessarily a bad idea.
yeah. Amy, as always, thank you so much. We're going to just talk a couple of things about LT Senior Services on our way out today. But I don't see any other questions, so I think we're good. And thank you again, Amy. You are wonderful. You're such a godsend to the Austin community. And thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so I just wanted to mention about a couple ideas, or not ideas, events that are coming up for LT Senior Services. We have our Shred Day. We are super excited about that. I'm looking up the date here. It is March 29th. It is from 9 to 11. You don't have to pre-register. You can bring as many boxes as you want. What we have found is the truck that we hire, we can take so many boxes. We've had businesses come with all of their boxes. I will say those businesses make a very nice donation to LT Senior Services. It's really our only fundraiser that we have. We do a Shred Day 2 times a year. We try to coordinate it. We don't want to impact our Boy Scouts because the Boy Scouts do it also. So we try to work around what the Boy Scouts are doing in the Lake Travis area. And we try to do it at a different time. It's going to be held, I don't have the address on here. But anyway, it's right in Lakeway on 620 by the Wells Fargo, and it is sponsored. Our sponsors are Lakeway Aquatic Center and Jeremy Self. He is one of our financial advisors, and it's right in their parking lot. It's very easy. You just stay in your car, you lift up your trunk, we get it out for you. We put it into bins that are locked. So it goes into bins, the bins are locked, and then they're taken off-site and it's shredded. It's a commercial process that has taken place, and it's done very safely. So you could feel very confident about your items being shredded. Our next event for LT Senior Services is going to be a webinar that's going to be on March 12th, and it is Thriving in Retirement, Senior Living offerings. So we're really excited to have some local senior living communities that will be a part of it. Also, we'll have a senior living locator, somebody who helps you locate senior living. They'll also be participating. We're very excited about that. In April, we'll be having a doctor from Baylor Scott & White talk. We don't have his topic yet. His name is Dr. Harrison, so he will be on the webinar then. We are going to actually, me personally, Cindy Cummings. One of my companies is called Turnkey Transitions. We are a move management company. I'm also a local real estate agent. Our move management company is one of the sponsors of an upcoming event. It's called GPS Caregivers Conference, and they're going to be holding the conference both live and in person. And the GPS conference is held on a Saturday. It's a caregivers conference. And so many of their speakers are going to be talking about services and ideas and products and just processes to help people who are caregivers for their loved ones. So we hope that you would participate in that. Today, we're doing a job webinar, 7 predictions for remote work in 2022. That's actually held by a nonprofit that I volunteer with. It's called Austin Up, and you can go to austinup.org, and there you'll see our different events. But one of the big things that Austin Up does is provide information about employment for older adults. Unemployment rate's real low, but we have a lot of older adults who are looking for positions and for jobs. And so we hold these webinars. We're also going to be having actual live job fairs. hoping that COVID will allow us to. And those job fairs help to match older adults to employers who are looking for older adults. They have been very successful in the past. We have lots of great stories about people finding jobs. But this particular webinar, it's going to be a webinar. And the person who's talking is somebody who's traveling around in her RV. And so she has some ideas for people who want to do remote work. So we're excited about that. That is today. You can go to austinup.org and you could register for that and see our other upcoming events. I think we're done. Thank you all for coming and thanks for participating in this event. We do post all of our webinars on our YouTube channel and you can go there later and watch it. And if you have a friend that you want to watch any of the webinars, you can also go to our YouTube channel. And we appreciate you. We will see you next month. Thanks for attending.